You count the coins twice, hoping they multiply the second time. They don't. Rent or groceries. The envelope on the table can only hold one truth tonight. Your hand hovers, trembling, over the stack meant for food. You choose silence. You choose shelter. Somewhere behind you, a child asks what's for dinner. This is the weight you carry, but it wasn't always this heavy. The ring slides off easier than you expected, as if it, too, understood there was no other way. You turn it once in your fingers, catching the last bit of light from the window, remembering the day it was placed there, the promise that came with it, the future you both imagined back when the future still felt certain. The pawn shop is 3 blocks away, but you walk slower than usual, delaying the moment, rehearsing the sentence you'll have to say out loud. Inside, the fluorescent light hums over rows of other people's forgotten treasures: watches, guitars, a child's bicycle. The man behind the counter barely looks up. He turns the ring under a small lamp, names a price. It's less than you hoped, more than you have right now. You nod, because nodding is easier than speaking. Your hand releases the ring before your heart does. Outside, you press the folded bills into your pocket, and don't look back at the shop window, afraid of what you might see reflected there. This is not the hardest thing you've given up. It won't be the last. But it wasn't always like this. There was a version of you that believed in a different ending, one built on stability instead of survival. You remember report cards you were proud of, a notebook filled with plans for a small business, sketches of a house with enough room for the family to grow into. You worked hard, believing effort alone would be enough to build something lasting, that discipline and patience would eventually be rewarded. For a while, it seemed to be working. Then life shifted, quietly at first, the way storms often begin. A job that vanished without warning, the company citing numbers you never understood. A parent whose illness drained savings faster than you could rebuild them, appointment after appointment chipping away at what little cushion existed. A rent increase that arrived like a verdict with no appeal, no negotiation, no mercy. You didn't fall into this life all at once, you slid into it gradually, one missed payment, one hard choice at a time, until the ground beneath your old dreams simply wasn't there anymore. Now your days revolve around a single, exhausting question that never fully leaves your mind: what will I have to sacrifice today just to keep going? The dreams haven't disappeared completely. They've just been pushed further down the list, beneath rent, beneath food, beneath survival itself, waiting for a day that keeps getting postponed. Nothing is simple anymore. Every choice carries a hidden price tag that others rarely notice. The bus fare or the 40-minute walk that saves $2. You choose the walk, rain or no rain. The medicine or the electricity bill. You split the dosage and hope your body forgives you. Even groceries become a quiet negotiation. Bread stretches further than meat, but protein keeps hunger away longer. You read price tags like a second language, calculating totals in your head before you reach the register, while strangers toss items into their carts without a second glance. At the counter, you feel your pulse quicken as the card is swiped, bracing for the decline that has happened before. It goes through. You exhale as though you've won something, though all you've really done is survive one more transaction. Bills arrive with instructions you already know by heart. Which ones can wait, which ones cannot. This is what poverty steals first, not comfort, but ease. The simple, unremarkable freedom to choose without consequence, to spend without calculating, to breathe without bracing. No one sees the version of you that rehearses excuses before declining an invitation you can't afford. No one sees you rewearing the same shirt, hoping no one remembers it from last week, or the careful way you angle your bag so the worn seams don't show. You've become fluent in deflection. I'm just tired, you say, when the truth is you're running silent arithmetic behind your eyes, calculating whether gas money will stretch until payday. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from performing normalcy, smiling through conversations while your mind quietly counts what's left in your account. Shame doesn't announce itself loudly, it lives in small, private moments, averting your eyes at the checkout, hesitating before answering "How are you?" honestly, deflecting questions about vacations you'll never take. You've learned to carry these moments quietly, because admitting the struggle out loud feels heavier somehow than the struggle itself. And so you keep performing, keep pretending, keep surviving in silence. Love doesn't disappear under financial pressure, but it bends under the weight of constant calculation. You watch your child stare at a toy in a store window, and you say maybe next time, knowing next time is a sentence you've said before and will say again. The guilt lingers in your chest long after they've stopped asking, long after they've learned not to ask at all. Partners argue less about affection and more about numbers. Who forgot to pay what? Whose turn it is to go without something this month? Love doesn't vanish, but exhaustion crowds it out, leaving little space for tenderness at the end of a long day. Friendships fade quietly too, not from lack of care, but because you can no longer afford the dinners, the outings, the version of friendship that requires spending money you don't have. Still, you show up when you can, a shared meal, a favor returned, a shoulder offered without hesitation, because connection remains one of the few things poverty hasn't managed to fully take from you. At night, when the house finally goes quiet, the numbers come alive in your head. You lie awake recalculating bills you've already calculated a dozen times, hoping somehow a different total will appear. Stress becomes a permanent tenant in your body. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, a mind that rarely fully rests, even in sleep. Guilt visits often, whispering that you should be doing more, earning more, providing more, as if effort alone could rewrite the numbers. Fear sits close behind it. Fear of one unexpected expense unraveling the fragile balance you've spent months building. Some nights, doubt creeps in quietly, asking if things will ever truly change, if this is simply what your life has become. You think of other paths you might have taken, other decisions that might have led somewhere easier, and then you push the thought away, because dwelling on it changes nothing. And yet, beneath the exhaustion, something stubborn persists. A refusal to give up entirely, a quiet defiance that whispers tomorrow, you try again. That resilience isn't loud or cinematic. It doesn't announce itself or ask for recognition. It's the simple, unremarkable act of getting up when giving up would be far easier, of showing up for another day when no one would blame you for not, of continuing to try even when trying rarely feels like enough. Then there are moments that remind you life isn't only hardship. A neighbor leaves extra vegetables on your doorstep, no explanation needed, no expectation of return. Your child laughs at something small, a joke, a cartoon, a silly voice, and for a few seconds the weight lifts entirely, replaced by something lighter and warmer. You find a few extra dollars in an old jacket pocket, and it feels, briefly, like discovering treasure. A stranger quietly covers part of your groceries without a word, and you blink back tears in the parking lot, moved by kindness you didn't expect and can't quite repay. A good conversation, a shared laugh, a moment of unexpected help, these things don't erase the struggle, but they remind you that kindness still exists, that laughter still finds its way in, that you are more than the sum of what you lack. You hold on to these victories tightly, replaying them later, because they are proof that hope hasn't abandoned you, even now. This isn't a rare story, it's a daily reality for millions of people, shaped not by laziness or poor decisions, but by circumstance, limited opportunity, and systems that often make struggle harder to escape than to endure. Poverty limits more than income, it limits access. To healthcare that could catch illness before it worsens, to education that could open new doors, to time that could be spent building a future instead of simply surviving the present moment. It becomes a cycle that demands extraordinary effort just to stand still, let alone move forward. Small setbacks that others recover from quickly, a flat tire, a sick day, a broken appliance, can take much longer to overcome when there's no financial cushion to fall back on, no savings account to absorb the shock. What looks, from the outside, like a single bad day is often the result of years of narrow margins, of decisions made under constant pressure, of opportunities that simply never appeared. Understanding this reality isn't about pity, it's about recognizing the quiet strength, the discipline, and the resilience it takes to keep moving forward inside a system that rarely makes it easy, and rarely acknowledges the effort involved. It's about seeing the person behind the statistic, the story behind the struggle. Tonight the ring is gone, but the medicine is bought, and the child sleeps soundly in the next room, unaware of what it cost, unaware of the quiet weight carried so their world could stay simple a little longer. Tomorrow will bring its own impossible choice, and you will face it the way you always have, quietly exhausted, but unbroken, still standing. This is not a story about defeat. It's a story about the invisible strength it takes to survive an ordinary day when nothing about it is easy, when every decision carries weight most people never have to consider. Somewhere, right now, someone is making a choice just like this one. Maybe you've never had to. But for these few minutes you understood, even briefly, what it feels like to carry that weight, and understanding is where empathy begins.